All right, we've talked to you about a lot of people who are, saying, like Dick Morris are saying, hey, I think this is the way it's going to turn out. We can't get Stu to buy into any of these happy little tales. We can't get him to buy into any.
He's a little black rain cloud.
No. Let me tell you something. Yeah, but that poll,
Obama gets 281 electoral votes.
Yeah. Until we came up with Josh Jordan. Josh Jordan apparently is somebody that Stu is like, oh, all hail Josh Jordan.
Well, no,
so we wanted to get Josh.
He's my ray of sunshine.
Yeah, our comments, in our opinion, dirt.
Yeah, they don't mean anything.
Garbage. Josh Jordan. Oh, let's take it. Let's have Newsweek take a picture with a halo behind it. But Josh is from the National Review Online, and he is here, and he is actually one of the credible voices and knows what he's talking about on polls. So we thought we would get him on and make our little black rain cloud called Stu go away. Josh, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm very good. Tell me what you see happening today.
Well, it looks like one of the things we saw last week was that the race obviously tightened. I think post Hurricane Sandy, Obama got a little bit of a boost, and we're seeing a little bit of that fading, which is good for Romney because what we're seeing most specifically is that independents are going right back to Romney's camp, which is where they were about a week and a half ago. So I think of all of the national polls, Romney's up about 8 points with independents, and that is what Obama won by in 2008. That flip by itself takes Obama's 2008 win from 7% to about 2.5%. So even with 2008 turnout, if independents show up for Romney like the polls are showing, that would cut the lead to a point where Republicans basically just need to turn out to a level of any of the past, 5, 6 presidential elections outside of 2008, and Romney can win this.
Okay, Josh, I've been talking to David Barton and Ralph Reed, and they all tell me, and I sense it as well, that they have never seen in their lifetime, even with Reagan and the height of the Christian coalition, they have never seen churches activate like they are right now. Is anyone taking those into consideration?
And that's the thing that I really don't understand about the polls this year, and we've seen it from the summer on all the way into now. And I think that you can see the crowds, you can see the enthusiasm, you can see the grassroots from churches, from communities, and it's something that to a certain extent Obama saw in '08 when he had the youth vote and all of that kind of coming together. And I just don't think that it's being picked up in the same way. And I think it's one of the reasons you're going to have a lot of discussions about polling after this election, because they're having a hard time kind of grasping, the enthusiasm among Republicans, which, if you look at 2010, it translated to votes, and it should translate this time as well.
But can't we also look at the depression of the voter for Obama? I mean, do you see anywhere where it is in large numbers excited to go out and vote for the president?
No, and you have enthusiasm among Obama supporters, but when you look at it compared to 4 years ago, it's way down. And so what you're going to see most likely is that among pretty much all groups, Obama is going to be down with turnout, especially with the youth. And then on the other hand, you've got Romney, who has built a lot of enthusiasm from where McCain was 4 years ago. So really, if Republicans can turn out in numbers anywhere near what Gallup and what Rasmussen have been showing, Romney can have a huge night, and I think that will go into again showing that polls are just not able to pick up the enthusiasm and the turnout. It's just almost like a groupthink that they assume Obama can repeat the turnout he had 4 years ago.
What are some of the signs that we should look for today and tonight?
Well, I think one of the early signs will be Florida, just because from all accounts, that has been a state where Romney has been able to get a little bit of space. And I think that, if that's called earlier, that's a great sign. That said, I think, networks are going to be pretty cautious to call anything.
Especially Florida.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think Virginia is an obvious state to look for. Some would argue Virginia is a little bit tighter because of Sandy.
Tell me about Minnesota. Do you think Minnesota could flip?
I think Minnesota is one of those states where if Romney has a huge night, it would flip. I think that you're looking probably at about a 3% deficit for Romney. In a race where it's really close. So I think if Romney were to come out and win, by 3-4%, it could flip. I think it's kind of one of those those tiers of states with Michigan where, if Romney has a huge night, he can flip Minnesota, he can flip Michigan,
Wisconsin,
he can flip Nevada.
Wisconsin.
I think Wisconsin looks good as it is. I think that one of the mistakes of the recall for Democrats was basically forcing Republicans to get a machine to get out the vote.
I agree.
Massachusetts? How about Massachusetts? New York?
Yeah, Massachusetts is going to be a tall order. I think,
it's going to be tough.
for Romney.
Is Indian Squaw is she gonna win?
Oh, Elizabeth Warren?
Elizabeth Warren, yeah.
I mean, Scott Brown seems like he's closed the gap a little bit, but I think Elizabeth Warren is going to activate her heritage to get out the vote herself. Maybe.
Do you really? You think she'll beat Scott Brown?
I think it's going to be really close. I mean, It looks like one of those races where, again, some of the polls are anticipating a higher Democratic turnout because of the presidential election, but since it's not close, I tend to think Scott Brown actually gets an advantage there because the Republicans will turn out no matter what, and I think that's going to help him along with independents. So really, I think that one's going to be really close.
Pennsylvania.
I think Pennsylvania's got a shot. I mean, you look at the polls tightening, you look at the enthusiasm. I don't think for a second that Romney went there as a head fake. That looked like something they calculated a while ago, kind of a last-second barrage to kind of try to catch Obama off guard, I think.
And Ohio?
I think Ohio looks pretty close, but I've said since September that I think that Romney's going to win it. I'm still holding strong on that. I think it's going to be close. I think he wins, maybe by a point and a half, something like that.
Nevada?
I think Nevada's a tall order. The early vote is better for Republicans than it was 4 years ago, but it's going to be huge get out the vote, which I think that Republicans are much more set up for this year than they were last election, but tough. Iowa, I think, goes Romney very slightly.
Wow.
And Colorado.
I think Colorado goes for Romney. I think it's a state that's tightened a little bit. Some of the more partisan polls have Obama with a lead, but I think that overall we've seen a very steady and slight Romney lead, and I think their early voting numbers are way better than they were in 2008, and I think that that's going to translate to a victory.
How confident in these predictions are you?
I'm confident. I think the caveat's always, do Republicans turn out the way we think they will?
So if there's a pretty good turnout, we can come over to your house and kill you tomorrow if you're wrong.
I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but you guys could certainly
put your money where your mouth is
for the embarrassment for everybody.
Yeah, you know what, Josh, is going to be really interesting is if you're right, if we're right. There's a few people who are out on the edge, and I'm farther. What a surprise! Farther out on the edge than you are. I'm saying that it's going to be over 300 in electoral votes, and I don't believe that it's going to be all that close. I think this is going to end a lot earlier than everybody thinks. The media is going to have a lot of explaining to do. I mean, one of us is going to be greatly discredited tomorrow, and it very well could be me. But I mean, really, there's no ifs, ands, or buts on this one.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that's going to be interesting because I think a lot of Republicans feel really strong about this. And if you look back 4 years, people didn't feel strong. And there's a reason that a lot of conservatives feel strong about this one. I really think that, to your point, there is an absolute chance that Romney gets over 300 because you've got party identification surveys showing Republicans outnumbering Democrats in multiple polls. If that happens tonight, Romney easily gets over 300. Even if Democrats outnumber Republicans by a few percent, Romney wins. So I think there's much more potential for a big Romney win than there is for even a small Obama win.
Josh, there's a lot of people, and especially online, Democrats have hitched their wagon to Nate Silver from the New York Times, who I think is a really smart guy, and he was one of the first guys I remember predicting the taking of the House for the Republicans in 2010. So he's not crazy. But his model is now predicting a 91% chance of Obama winning tonight. And you've gone through and really looked at the model, the way he weights polls and everything else. Do you think he has anything? Is he leaning this on purpose? Is it just too overly confident in the polling? What's going on there?
Well, I think his particular model basically just takes all of the public polling, averages them out, and then puts a little bit of kind of I know people like to kind of make fun of it as being like a secret sauce, but he tweaks them. Personally, I think that he puts more emphasis on the polls that tend to favor Obama, like the NBC Marist polls get heavily weighted, and those have been hugely skewed to Obama this year. It's kind of one of those things where anyone can look at the average of polls and make a prediction. I think the approach I took this year was to actually look inside the polls and say, okay, this poll makes sense because, the turnout looks like it could happen. And I think that's the difference between the way I look at it and the way he looks at it. As far as the 91% goes, he's kind of hedging that a little bit this morning by saying, well, it's 91%, but it's still going to be really close. I think, it's going to be interesting. If Romney comes out and wins big, I think it's going to kill this whole concept that you can just take every public poll,
Sure.
average it together, tweak it a little bit, and then declare it a model. I think that's going to change.
Does this feel more like 2004, 2008, or 2010?
To me, it feels kind of between, a little bit of all three. I think 2004, you had more independents breaking the carry, but Republicans got out the vote. In 2008, obviously it was a wave election for Democrats, and then in 2010 you can make the argument it was almost a wave election for Republicans. I think this election you're going to see both parties get out to vote, but I think Republicans are much more energized, much more enthusiastic, and then on top of that you have independents breaking to Romney, which is why I think, you might not see that kind of washout that you saw in 2010, but I think you're going to see potentially a more decisive victory than you saw in 2004.
I'm in love with you, Josh. I would like to buy you a dinner and some drinks sometime, and assuming you're right. Otherwise, we come to your house and kill you tomorrow.
I was just gonna say, what are you gonna buy me if I'm wrong tonight?
Thanks a lot, Josh. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. We're going to
He has a ray of sunshine. I feel optimistic after
Black
that call.
Rain guy. Shush.